The bandwidth for this episode of the AR-15 podcast is sponsored by the Firearms Radio Network. Firearmsradio.tv.
Welcome to episode number 61 of the AR-15 podcast. I'm your host, Reed Snyder, and with me today is Anthony Hardy, who's come back for a second round, being one of our co-hosts. And this is the podcast about your favorite black rifle. This show is for you whether you're building your first AR or you've been building ARs for years. There's something we can all do to take our black rifle to the next level. So tonight we have with us Chris Ashley, who is one of the, chief engineers out there at Otis. Tell me, Chris, what exactly is your title out there?
I'm a product design specialist and chief bottle washer.
So when I asked Frank Devlin who was the man to talk to, the gearhead out there that knew all things Otis, you're the name that came up. So does that tell you good things, or are you looking to do things to Frank now?
No, Frank's a good guy. I like to talk guns, so any questions you have, I'll do my best to give you any information and throw away.
All right. Well, let's start off tonight with our Ripcord giveaway, and once again, that's an Otis technology product. We've had a whole lot of positive feedback about the product, but for times in the field when you just can't reach your Otis cleaning system and need a quick and effective clean, reach for the Ripcord. This convenient tool cleans from breech to muzzle in one quick and easy pass. The molded rubberized core and Nomex fibers together create a more effective way to trap and remove fouling. So today's winner is Jeff A. So he writes in, "Hey guys, just wanted to drop you a line and thank you for the great podcasts. I've been shooting for years and I still learn something new during every podcast. That's one thing that's great about the show. Novice to experienced alike can relate and enjoy. I've just completed my newest build and decided to try out Green Mountain AR barrels. There isn't too much info on the net about their AR barrels, but their reputation for 1022 barrels is pretty good. I shot about 100 rounds last week while trying to break in the barrel, and so far I am pleased. I'm using an EOTech 512, so pinpoint accuracy can't be fully assessed." He says, "Please include me in your next giveaway." Well, Jeff, looks like you won, so that was a pretty good email. You know, I have heard about the Green Mountain barrels myself, and I've been looking for a new 20-inch barrel for a rifle of mine, and they're one of the names that came up. So I haven't made a call yet on where I'm going with that, but I'm going to go back and look at them again.
Great.
So,
congrats, Jeff.
Chris, tell me, the rifles that you shoot competitively, are they stock service rifles?
I shoot two different types of competition. I shoot for the U.S. All Guard team. We shoot combat class and we shoot service rifle. During combat class, we shoot black guns, strict off the rack. It's either an A2 or an A4 with an ACOG, M9 Beretta, and then the standard machine gun, which the 249 or 240 Bravo. So the combat class is full gear, helmets, web gear, gas mask, the whole 9 yards. A lot of running and gunning, a lot of fun, but they have to be stock issued weapons. Right. Now, on the other side, when we shoot service rifle out of Camp Perry and Quantico and wherever else we get to go, which is some cool places, we shoot service rifles. My particular service rifle is a Rock River Lower with a white oak upper, and it's got weighted and floated and quarter-minute sights, pinned rear. So that's pretty much mine. I shoot a Geissele trigger. Very happy with the weapon. It's carried me to President's 100 in 2010 and kept me in the top rankings, so I'm very, very happy with it.
Well, so it sounds like that rifle was basically built to your spec?
What I started out with was a basic match rifle from Rock River, right out of the box, and I learned how to shoot it, and as I got better and started adding things to it to make me a better shooter, instead of like a lot of people that seem to have a ton of money, they go out and they buy all the bells and whistles, and they're not ready for that. They haven't built their skill up to the point where all the bells and whistles make any difference whatsoever at all. So I'm at a point now where my rifle complements me and I complement my rifle. So.
Well, excellent. Well, Anthony, why don't you start off with the next bit here?
Sure. Remember, listeners, fair listeners, Brownells makes this show possible. They are there for you anytime you make a mistake, like when Jake shoots a spring across the room into his lime green shag carpet. Shop for AR-15 parts at Brownells. Go to ar15podcast.com/AR15parts.
All right, so Anthony, the tip of the week. This is from you. Why don't you read this? Because this is going to sound awful weird if I do.
Yeah, it would sound just a little bit weird. Reed tasked me with tip of the week again this week, and since we were talking about cleaning, and this is cleaning and maintenance, and this is not something that I have just an enormous amount of experience with. Let me go ahead and tell you guys that I've cleaned my rifle 3 times. So yeah. For those of you who, like me, who don't love to clean your rifle, it's not what you love and breathe, and it's what you do every day. I asked Reed before the show what was the most important part to clean. If you only had one part you could clean, what would you clean? Of course, he said 2 parts: bolt carrier group and chamber at minimum. If you only had 5 minutes and you had to just clean very quickly, clean your bolt carrier group and chamber. So that would be my tip of the week. If you're lazy like me, you don't like cleaning your rifle, before you are going to have any sort of malfunctions, try to clean at least your bolt carrier group and your chamber out. In your show notes, you'll find a link to Brownell's video on cleaning and maintenance, part 2, and then there's a link back to part 1 as well. So feel free to check that out as well. We hope that helps everybody out.
Well, Chris, tell me, what do you think about that? If you're just going to do a bare minimum clean, what do you think that would include for you?
5 minutes. 5 minutes.
For me, what that would include is I use the bone tool from Otis Technology.
Yeah.
It'll clean the bolt carrier, the bolt, the firing pin. It also doubles as a T-handle. It's easy, goes in your pocket. It's softer than the bolt and the bolt carrier, so it doesn't damage your bolt and bolt carrier, but it's manufactured and conformed for the radiuses on the back. It allows you to do a field cleaning to keep the heavy carbon off, because we know it's a gas-operated weapon.
Yeah. To
keep the carbon off it, to keep it functioning, to keep the gas rings sealed, to minimize the wear on your gas rings in the backside of your bolt. That's what I would use. It's quick.
Very cool.
Now, you see that, Anthony. He goes straight for the bolt carrier group as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep, absolutely. Of course, at the end of the day, I've already used my Otis kit to clean my barrel and my chamber with a quick pull, and I didn't have to disassemble it. And then I can put it away. After I take my 600-yard zero off the rear sight, put my 200 on.
Well, Chris, that brings us to our main topic, and now that you've kind of opened the door for us, can you let's start about a little bit about your background and what brought you to Otis Technology and the capacity that you're there now. So you're the senior product designer?
Well, I'm a product design specialist. There's 3 people on our new products team, or 4 now. There's 4 of us on a new products team, but primarily I'm the shooter. I'm the guy who goes out and talks to other shooters and finds out what's missing, what don't we have, or what doesn't work out there. So I can take a shooter's aspect to the design. In the facility that I work in R&D, we have people that this is what we do. We go, what's the voice of the customer, what's the complaint, what's lacking, or what doesn't work, and then we try to come up with a solution that fills that void.
You do implementation of all their products.
Absolutely.
Oh man, that sounds like it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I get to shoot guns and clean them and make things. So
that's awesome.
So I take it then that when it comes to your experience in the military, and you and I both talk, we both have a starting point in the Marine Corps, and there you go, hoorah. So with that in mind, you have a lot of experience with the MSR cleaning system that's sold by Otis. Is that correct?
I do. I was using it. It was actually, I got issued a 5.56 kit over in Iraq. Right. And it came with a little DVD player, or a little DVD, which was really cool, except I didn't have a DVD player. So there wasn't a lot of people giving me any instruction how to tie the patches. So the first time I did it and I tied the patch, it got stuck because I tied it like I was always taught. Loop it, stick it through the eyelet, pull it through. Oh my goodness, what do I do now? The armorer is going to kill me. So at that point, I stopped using it. I really did. And I went back to the old way of doing things, which was clumsy, carrying a lot of extra gear with me. An unsatisfactory result, but it was a need because the sand over there is exactly like very, very fine silt, and it gets everywhere. You have to take care of it.
Right.
I came back, and I was a tool maker for another company, and I had my resume out like most people, always looking for that bigger, better job, and I got an interview. I came in, I talked to them, and during the interview, they asked what I like, what I don't like, and I was honest. That's what Marines do. We're very honest, and I told them what I liked, what I didn't like. Well, at that point, somebody showed me how to tie a patch, and it was actually pretty cool. Our patches, if you know them, our patches have slits in them. We have a 2-inch patch and a 3-inch patch. The slits, when you put your eyelet through there, the way you tie your patch, where you pinch it and then feed it back through the eyelet, allows you to do a variety of calibers. But the coolest thing about the patches is you can use them up to 6 times, because there's 3 slits on the front and there's 3 slits on the back.
Oh.
So when the first time you tie it and it folds up, it creates a virgin area on the inside. So you can pull that through 3 different times. You take that virgin area, turn it over, you can pull that through 3 different times. So now not only was I using less patches, I was getting better cleaning because I get a full 360 degrees.
Now you see, I did not know that. That is
cool.
amazing. I've learned a new technique. Now I've used the MSR kit, and I learned how to tie the patches properly, but I have to tell you that I have only used every single patch one time, exactly one time.
Well, I appreciate you doing that, because that means you're going to buy more, and it keeps my doors open. But I hope I didn't give it away.
Well, those are those great tips that we all wish that somebody had told us, 600 patches ago. So I'm certainly glad that I got it now. Well, let's start out with the MSR kit, and I want to kind of go over how that system is designed to really complement a shooter's cleaning of the kit. So you field strip your rifle. What's the first thing that we're supposed to do with the MSR kit?
Usually what I do, this is me, the first thing I do when I field strip my rifle, I remove the top half from the bottom half, pull the bolt carrier group out, is I start to clean the chamber. I take a look in there. You can use the bore flag. You understand how to use this to look through down the barrel for obstructions. Yeah. So you can go in there and make sure it's nice, safe, and clear. I assemble my cables. I put my knockout tip on, put my slotted tip on the other side. I tie a patch, put some lube on it, and I run it through the barrel. I let that set. At that point, I start tearing apart my bolt carrier group. Break it down to parade rests. I use my bone tool to clean the bolt carrier, the firing pin. I get in there with the pick set. You've seen the pick set, right?
Yeah. Well, okay. I want to go back to the bone tool.
Sure.
I've used the bone tool, and it's a good scraping tool, and of all of the tools that I have seen for that purpose, it is the most concisely designed tool. You have these, kind of ungainly tools that, look like, big forks, or, they're just not elegant, and that is like such an elegant tool because it is the minimum use, or the minimum that you need for the tool to actually do its job, but it does everything. So when you're using that, are you going to use any kind of a cleaner? Are you going to put some kind of a CLP on your bolt, or is that purely a metal-on-metal scraping tool?
I primarily use it just metal on metal. I don't add any oil. It's carbon. Carbon's a rock, so I can scrape it off. I can work it off. In the old days, what we use a pocket knife. That's what we did. So I can use that dry. I don't need to lube it. Once I get all the carbon scraped off, then I'll apply CLP. I'll put it all back together, and I only apply CLP on the wear surfaces.
Right.
We know what a wear surface is. Any surface that's shiny. So that's the only place I put CLP. Other than that, when the rifle cycles, it'll blow CLP in your eye, and then you're miserable.
Right. Yeah, I've had a couple of instances with a face full of something. So the pick kit, you were talking about the pick set that's part of the MSR tool.
I use the pick set to get into the areas where I can't get the bone tool to grab. Unfortunately, we're at the mercy of any machine shop that's making a bolt in the bolt carrier group.
Right,
they can cut a radius bigger, they can cut a radius smaller, they can put a little undercut in it. Obviously, you can't get everywhere, and it's made as a field cleaning. It's made to take the heavy stuff out. So what the pick set does is it allows us to get a little finer detail, to get down in the crevices, clean out the holes, clean out the areas for your forward assist. Use your AP brush. I like to use my AP brush, the small side of it. I like to wrap a patch around it, get down in there and polish things up, clean it up real nice.
Yeah, I always tear mine up. I don't care what it is, And
I do too.
Yeah, inside of a month, it looks like a toothbrush that somebody's been gnawing on.
And that's what they're used for. Not your chamber brush, not your bore brush. The
Right.
bronze brushes aren't really meant for that. They're made for the barrel and the chamber. So.
All right, so we've kind of taken care of some of the preliminary parts on the bolt carrier group. Where are we going next with the MSR kit?
Next thing, what I do after that is the barrel's been sitting for a while. So now I'll run a brush through the barrel down the bore, and then I'll come in with a chamber brush. And I like, it comes with it has the two brass rods, so you can attach the two brass rods together. You can put the T handle on the end. You put the chamber brush on the end of that, and then you can come in from the back of the upper receiver, clean out the chamber brush nice and easy, get all that gunk out of there. I like to take my used patch that I've run through the barrel, wrap it around my chamber brush, go in and polish out the bore, the chamber itself, make it nice and clean.
That's a good idea.
Because the brush will grab the patch. The patch is junk anyway. I'm going to throw it away, but it'll get the chunks out of there, and then it allows me to clean it out a lot better. Then I can look down in there and I can see that nice chrome surface that I'm looking for. Know that it's squeaky clean.
Very nice.
After I do that, then I start to turn my attention to the lower receiver. I'll put the trigger forward, start picking down in there with the pick. I'll wrap patches around the picks to get it down in the little areas. Get that junk out of there. Make sure there's no primers from rounds that I reloaded incorrectly and had a bad blowback, so I don't have a failure in another match. Just generally take care of my stuff. I'll pull the buffer tube out, the buffer spring. I'll pull them out, clean them up, wipe that all down, put that all back together. The buttstock, the back of the buttstock by the shoulder, I'll clean that out, make sure that little gas hole is nice and clean. I'll use the pick set for that. Use my AP brush to get any dirt out of it because I might have set it down. At that point, my lower receiver is about done. I go back to my upper receiver. I clean out the area where my bolt carrier slides back and forth. I use my AP brush for that, wrap a nice little patch around that, get down in there, clean around the gas tube. I never stick anything down inside the gas tube. A long time ago I was told not to, and I still don't, as I don't have a way to clean it all the way to the barrel. So I don't want to start pushing stuff in there and creating a malfunction later on for myself. The pressures will clean it out for me. So at that point, I clean around the delta ring, in the front where the handguards are. I'll take those off, clean around the delta ring.
Well, let me ask you a question before you go further. So you're talking about your gas tube. I remember being issued pipe cleaners to basically stick down my bolt carrier group's gas key.
Yes, I'll do the gas key, but I won't do the gas tube.
So what do we use in the kit to basically clean that key?
We don't have pipe cleaners. So what we use is the scraper kit. We have small little picks that'll get down in there, and then we can clean that out that way.
All right. Okay, so back to the D-ring.
Yep. I'll clean the delta ring out where the gas tube comes through the front of the delta ring. I'll clean those little areas out, just because it builds up pressure. It's a place for excess pressure as the bolt goes back to go away, so it's not blowing things in your eyes. So I'll do that. And then at that point, I start to coat all the surfaces that are steel in a light coat of CLP, put them all together, clean out my muzzle flash if there's one on there, if the muzzle breaks there. My particular rifle, because I live in New York, is not allowed to have one, so I don't have to worry about that too much. There's other things I could say, but I won't. And then that's pretty much it. I put my rifle together after I've lubricated all the wear spots. I do my function check, and then I release the pressure on the trigger, and I put it away.
Well, let's talk about the barrel and Otis's flexible. What do you call it? Flexible cable.
The memory flex cable.
Memory flex cable for basically cleaning the barrel. So, do we start with a brush to loosen up debris, or do we start with solvents and patches? I mean, what's your kind of routine or regimen in that sense?
What I do with that is I take a patch, tie it correctly. I'll put some lube on it, and I'll run it down the barrel. I let that sit for a little bit. Then I run a brush. Then after that's done, I'll come in with a patch, and I'll run it through 6 times, one patch. I'll do that nice and clean, and then I'll lightly lube a patch, run it through for storage if I'm going to do a long-term storage.
Okay.
That's how I do a barrel. That's recommended.
What is, in your mind, a clean barrel? I mean, is it that you've got most of it? Because I've pulled a patch through a barrel and it's black. And then, a couple more patches later, it's kind of like gray, but it's never truly without any fouling.
Correct. And you'll never be truly without any fouling unless you use things that you're not supposed to use, like Tide detergent and things like that. That's from boot camp. So the reason why is because when rifling is either cut or buttoned, it folds over and it leaves pockets, and those pockets fill up with carbon and copper. So every time that you add an oil to it or a copper remover or something, you start to draw that carbon out, and you're going to draw carbon out forever. It's never really going to go away. So I run it through until I'm satisfied with the light grayness of the patch coming through. I never ever take my barrel down to complete parade rest with copper and everything like that, because it affects my accuracy. People always take a few shots to dirty their barrel before they get into a match. I don't usually break my barrel down that far. I do decopper the barrel. I do it about every 300 rounds.
Okay.
And I put it away. I lube it up and put it away. So, but you'll never get a white patch to run through white.
Well,
mind if I ask a newbie question here?
Sure.
Go ahead.
What is decoppering a barrel?
Every time you fire a round, there's a lot of heat and pressure behind the round. So a little bit of copper vaporizes.
Sure.
And as that round goes out the barrel, it spreads onto your rifling.
Makes sense.
There's a lot of people that have different theories on why and how and to remove it, and it builds layer after layer after layer. But every time you shoot, you strip a little bit of that off also. There's only so much space in the rifling that you can run a round down through there. So they make, and we make, a solution that actually oxidizes the copper. Okay. And you use a nylon brush, you put the solution on there. It's a scrubbing action. As you pull the brush through it, it starts to oxidize it. You run your patches through, they'll come out a bluish color, and you just run that through, and then you can neutralize it with a CLP to remove that copper. But it's always good it's not really good to use a high ammonia content decoppering, because it never stops attacking the metal of your barrel.
Right.
If you're really, really new to it and you don't neutralize it, you can ruin your barrel.
Oh, gotcha. Makes perfect sense. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
So, as far as the rifle, we've gone through basic cleaning and maintenance with the MSR kit. What kind of routine inspection do you go through to make sure that your rifle is going to continue to function the way it's supposed to? Are there components that you look at to detect fatigue or stress? Are there things that you keep an eye open for so that the next time you put that rifle down, it functions the way you expect it to?
Yes. Like I said, I function check my rifle, and what that basically is for me is when I put my bolt and my bolt carrier group back together, okay, and I put the pins in and I get the cam and everything, it's all locked in, I extend it out and I stand it up on the table. If the gas rings hold my bolt up and it doesn't fall, my gas rings are still good. I'm good with that now. As I put everything back together and I do my function check, I check my trigger, I recycle, I check my trigger reset, check my trigger again. That's pretty much all I do for function checking on a rifle.
Okay. And so as far as springs, bolt, have you ever had a failure during a competition or just in the ordinary course of shooting?
I broke 2 lugs off a bolt down in Arkansas at the Winston P. Wilson National Guard Championships in the middle of a match, and at that point the points are gone, you're never getting them back. So
right.
Wow.
And that's just from excessive rounds.
Yeah, you just hit the service life of that particular bolt.
Yeah, it's the first time it's ever happened to me. I've never had anything else fail on my personal ARs or any of my military M16s.
So when it comes down to it, do you have, I don't know, a rule of thumb, 1,000 rounds and I'm going to replace my bolt, 2,000 rounds and I'm going to, replace my trigger springs? Are there any things that kind of have come to your attention as far as what you want to make sure you do with your rifles to make sure that they're going to work longer and
those points of maintenance you get in your car? You get and they come out and they say you're supposed to change this at so many miles, and everybody looks at it and goes, "Yeah, right."
Well, I always thought that was the Marine Corps armorers.
Exactly. That's their job. They're supposed to figure that out. No, with my rifles, my personal rifles, and the military rifles at the base are obviously taken care of by the armorers, and they do their function checks and their measurements and everything like that. But my personal rifle, I keep a log every time I shoot a match. I keep a log of the rounds I've shot, where I shot, what the temperatures were, things like that. And I've got over 5,000 rounds on my barrel right now, and it's still holding great groups, 200, 300 yards, and very accurate at 600. I have been in the middle of a match before where at the 600-yard line, all of a sudden they were everywhere, and that was terrible. So I don't have a magic number for that. I really don't.
Well, when you have a barrel that's doing that to you, I mean, is your next step to go change it?
And well, you can't grab a different rifle.
Well, no, obviously in the competition, but like, competition is done, you're wrapping it up. Is your next thought, well, okay, now I got to go get this barrel done?
Yeah. The next thought was, how do I run a new barrel by the ex-wife? She's an ex-wife now, but yeah.
Yeah, I have one of those, but I have a current wife, so yeah, I guess you can't win for losing, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So tell me, when you're working for Otis and you're doing the shooting and you're talking to the shooters, is this just kind of an integral function of what you do? Do you travel around to the places where your shooters are going to be and say, corner them and say, hey guys, tell me what's going on? Or are you doing this from the office, calling up guys that you know and talking to them? Or tell me about how this works, that you get that information, that you go about. I mean, obviously you're out competing, so you have opportunities to talk to these shooters, but where else do you go? What else is the mechanism for gathering that information?
I do a lot of all the above. Mainly, it's networking. I've been shooting for a long time, and not as long as some people, but I've been shooting a long time, and I meet a lot of really cool people, and some of them are really, really open to telling me the truth, and other people, it's their way or no way. Their way is the best way. So I take everything that I hear, I write it down, because it's all got truth in it. I make phone calls. I use my own personal team. I do call a lot of the guys on the all-guard team. Facebook is phenomenal because there's so many shooters around the U.S., and it seems like we're all linked one way or another on Facebook. So we share things back and forth. I do get a chance to go to a lot of shows. I've gone with Frank to the SHOT Show a couple times, and I get to do a couple of the Marine shows. And the first thing I ask people is, don't tell me what you think I want to hear. Tell me what you think I don't want to hear. Tell me what you don't like, what doesn't work, what makes you angry, what makes you not want to buy this product, because that's the stuff I want to fix. Because most of it's very, very easy, it's very, very trivial, and for us to overlook it, it doesn't mean anything, but to them, it's a huge big deal. So at that point, now I get great feedback. The other thing is I hit a lot of local clubs. I talk to people. I just ask them, hey, what's going on? A lot of the times, people see the shirt, and at the shooting range, they know what it is. So they're more than happy to go, hey, I love your kit, or, in your kit, I really think this is missing, or I just don't like the color of that. They have great ideas. So I take everything back, we bring it back to new products team, we push it through the company, and then we make decisions. And that's the whole goal, is to keep the consumer happy.
Well, so let's talk about the bone tool. I mean, when I was looking for a tool to clean my bolt carrier group, and when I was looking at the things that were available, the things I've used, I mean, like I said, I don't think anything out there is as elegant as the bone tool. I mean, it's just such a very tightly engineered tool. What's the process that took place? It's that you suddenly say, hey, wait a minute, this is something that we need to make, to having something that's sitting in a box up on the shelf that we can all buy?
I had done the same thing before I was working at Otis. I had bought all the cool gizmos out there, and they were huge, and I couldn't take them with me, and they were always in my range box. But if I'm shooting a combat match, I can't bring my range box with me. Mm-hmm. So what do I got to do? Well, I got to go to the truck. I got to get my range box. It was a huge hassle. So I've always thought about, we can make this better. And there was another guy that I shoot with, and we were always talking about how to make things better, How am I going to do it? How am I going to get that incorporated? Otis picked me up. We were talking about it. We came up with some ideas. We had a preliminary design of something else that was out there. Actually, there was some restructuring in the company, and my new boss came out, and he says, hey, what's this thing? And I said, well, it's a bone tool. And he's like, oh, we're going to make this. This is really, really cool. and that's where it started. And a couple engineers on the floor started playing with it. We shot a lot of rifles, which was really, really cool, and we cleaned a lot of rifles, which was okay. I'd rather shoot them, but there was a lot of collective effort, and it went through a process. The design continually improvement the whole way. Went up to our CNC room, and they found a better way to make it, a lot cleaner, more aesthetically pleasing, remove some of the sharp edges. So it's just an evolution of a lot of people and a lot of ideas and a lot of input.
You know, I've talked to the guys at the booth on 2 occasions, NRA last year, the annual meeting, and at SHOT, and you know, Frank has come onto the show. I've talked to Len. We've heard the story of how Otis came into being, but tell me, what is it like to work for a company that just seems to be like on the leading edge of innovation in its niche market of firearms?
I'll tell you what I told everybody else. I was hired in October 2010, and I'd been here about a month. And people are like, wow, you work for Otis. What's that like? I said, it's like a dream. It really is. I've been shooting, and now I work for a company that makes gun cleaning kits. And they care about what I think, and they care about what I do. So honestly, I'm still waiting to wake up and find out that this isn't real, and I'm still back at the old tool and die shop, you know, slinging parts. But no, it's really, really cool because it is a collective effort. Everybody works very, very hard. It's just, you know, no idea is a stupid idea. Let's see what we can do with it. Let's go. And everybody really has their niche in what they do, and it all comes together very, very well.
Well, tell me, the MSR kit has essentially everything you would need to clean, you know, anybody's black rifle. What other Otis products do you have? And I know the Ripcord is probably the, you know, front and center right now as far as the new products that are coming out, but is there another Otis product that you just have to have when it comes to being a firearms enthusiast?
For the black gun and every other weapon out there, yes, but primarily the black gun, what we're talking about, we have a MPSR, which is the modern sporting rifle for a piston kit, which doesn't have the bone tool because that would be wasted if you have a piston-driven weapon.
Right.
It has pretty much the same stuff as the MSR kit, minus the bone tool. So it's custom-made for your piston-driven platform. We also have, let's see, we have a Bio-CLP that just came out, and we have an O12 AR cleaner lubricant protectant, specifically made for the black gun. You know, it's heavy carbon. We know that it's just gritty, nasty, dirty weapon. It functions all the time. It's great. So our oil helps, you know, take care of that, break that down. Let's see, we have the grip kit that you can carry with you. Fits inside our grip.
Tell me about the grip kit, because I don't think I've heard about that. And you know, we've given away some of the O12, and we had bone tools as a giveaway, and then we've had the Ripcords, but I seem to remember something about the grip kit, but I don't know enough about it. Tell us about the grip kit.
I'm looking at this right now. This looks really, really cool.
Well, here's a product placement. That's the grip kit.
Sweet.
So in the grip kit, what it has is there's a clamp. You remove the screw inside the pistol grip, and you run this. We have there's a set screw with it. You run that up inside there with a clamp. There's a plastic molded sleeve that slides up in there, grabs onto that, locks in place, sits flush with the bottom of the pistol grip. You can put. We have a knockout kit, an eyelet, a brush, T-handle, and patches in a cable. You can put that in the grip kit, carry it with you for quick cleaning, or you can put some AR rounds in there, some 5.56 rounds, some batteries. It's functional for carrying extra stuff inside the grip itself. So we have that. Let's see. We also have a 2-piece rail system, floated rail system. Have you ever seen that?
No.
Hold on, let me grab that. We have a 2-piece rail system. Okay, it's made out of 6061 T6 aluminum. It's the bottom piece. I don't have a set screw with me, so I'm terrible at this. You remove the 4 screws, 2 from each side. The bottom slides out. There's a barrel clamp right here, and the way you put this on your rifle is you don't have to remove the front sight post. You cut the delta ring off, remove the spring right there. This clamps right over the barrel nut, so you don't change any of your sights. You don't have to take your rifle apart. You don't need a barrel nut to take it apart. You don't have to worry about putting it back together. You just cut the delta ring off, clamp this on. Now you have a fully floated rail for your M4 platform.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah, you remember my discussion last week, Reed. That's rather interesting.
He's trying to figure out how to get a free-floating rail on and how to get it over his front side post, his A2 post.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Replace it with a low profile, so it was a very elaborate discussion.
Yeah.
Outstanding.
Well, so Otis right now, I know that a lot of things are really exciting happening at Otis. You guys are continuing to do great things, with the DoD, and when it comes to the kind of consumer market of the products, do you guys kind of approach your government military contracts involvement at the same speed and aggression that you do the civilian market, or do the civilian purchasers basically benefit from the field testing and engineering and efforts that go into making the military gear?
I think
is it kind of equal, or is it?
I think it's equal. I think it runs both ways. The reason why I say that is because we'll design things because the civilians will be asking for it, and then you find out the troops want it too, and then it'll end up in the NSN system or incorporated into another kit. So it's always a give and take. Plus, when people leave the military, they've used the Otis kit, they like the Otis kit, they step into the civilian world and go, this was missing in the military. So
Right.
it kind of runs back and forth. It's very hands-on. I did miss something. We're working on a 7.62 bone tool right now for the AR-10 platform.
Oh, well, that's
Nice.
interesting.
Yes.
Ready to get into the 7.62, the AR-10 side of things, so I'll definitely be getting one of those.
All right.
I've been an early adopter of everything I can find from you guys. So, so aside from that, is there kind of a driving force behind where you're going to innovate next, or what you're seeing out in the market as far as, I don't know, open spaces, things that haven't been addressed yet? I know that we've talked about the MSR, and I've seen a lot of the products that you make in the context of rifles and long guns, but what about pistols? Is that something that you put a lot of effort into? Is it something that I mean, tell me where that kind of has fit into the overall Otis strategy so far.
We have pistol kits specifically for a group of pistols or individual pistols. We have kits for 3-gun, but we also have ripcords designed just for pistols. They're a little bit shorter. They have a same surface contact cleaning area as they go through, but you don't need that whole cable to fit down the whole barrel, so it's a little bit more compact. We're doing 45, 40, 9mm right now in pistol, and
Right.
we're looking at a couple other calibers and going from there. But pistols are definitely not ignored.
Okay, well that's good to know. I'm a big SIG fan, and all of my pistols are kind of off calibers. I've got like 10mm and 357 SIG, and so I mean, never one for anything normal. So what's the future got in store for us? I mean, is Otis kind of working what it has and kind of making sure that what it's providing for its existing customer base is just refined, or are you guys trying to leapfrog ahead of what you do and do well now, and are you kind of stepping into new things? I mean, it looks like that rail is something new. I mean, that's certainly kind of outside of the bounds of the firearms cleaning side of things. So, I mean, is there anything else out there that has caught your attention, that caught the attention of Otis?
Well, there's things in the works. Sky's the limit, and of course we want to keep everybody guessing at what we're working on for the future. But
All right.
there'll be some really cool things coming.
Well, it's always good to know that. I know that in the last 2 years, just what we've watched from Otis has been phenomenal. We've been really excited about everything that we've been able to kind of see and get our hands on, and everything that we've been able to provide for the listeners through the show. And so, of course, we're really appreciative of everything that Otis has done for us. But tell me, is there anything that you just want to tell me that I wasn't able to ask you that you think our listeners might be interested in?
I would say we talked about the Ripcord in the beginning, and I know you hand them out and everything like that. But the really cool thing about the Ripcord is you can replace our memory flex cable in the kits with it, and it fits in there just fine. It functions the same. So you can carry this with you and do a quicker field cleaning while you're out there. Instead of tying a patch in the middle of a match or in the middle of a relay line, or you come out of the woods and it's raining, you carry this with you, you put it in our standard kit, you can remove the memory flex cable. This functions the same as a knockout tool on the end, as a pull, a jag, it'll pull everything you have. So
Well, let me ask you about that. I mean, obviously we know about the rubber core and the Nomex fibers on that. It withstands higher temperatures, so if you just put your rifle through the ringer, that thing's not going to melt inside your bore. But am I going to coat that with CLP? Am I going to coat it with a pure lubricant? Am I going to just run it through dry? What's the best utility, best use for the Ripcord?
My recommendation, this is my recommendation, and obviously you can put stuff on it if you want to, but my recommendation is put the eyelet on the back and tie a patch if you want to run oil down the barrel. And the reason why I say that is if you do that, you can throw away the oily patch. If you don't do that, this becomes oil, and at that point it becomes a magnet, and at that point it starts collecting stuff for you while you're not using it. So the drier you can keep it, the better you are. Obviously you can wash it with soap and water and let it hang dry and take care of it. It's not going to rust. It's not going to destroy it by any means. I just think that you'll get more benefit and have a longer life out of your Ripcord if you take care of it like you take care of your firearms.
All right.
Obviously it's made to get dirty and it's made to eventually throw away, but you don't want to do that prematurely.
Sure. Well, Chris, I think that we've learned a great deal. This is a lot of really useful information. I know that I'm going to go back and use some of this in my own routines because I have omitted to get that information before I started.
Yeah, now I've got a good place to start now too, so do a really good cleaning.
We really do appreciate you coming out. The drop-in handguard that you showed me, when is Otis going to be coming out with that for our retail buyers?
It's in the new product process right now, so it will be out eventually. I can't give you a time frame because I'm not really sure on that.
All right.
But you can look for it.
So kind of keep our eyes open for it.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, we'll definitely have to call Frank when you guys get ready to start shipping that out to distributors and see if we can't get a few for the listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. Take them out, work them, tell me what you like, what you don't like.
Absolutely. Well, I tell you what, Chris, before I let you go, we're getting ready to do a competition shooters show, and we've got a couple of national competitors, some Camp Perry shooters, and we're going to try to get them on the show and kind of discuss everything there is to know about the competitive world when it comes to black rifles and all the nuances that are available to those shooters. Would you be willing to come on and talk to us about some of that, since you're out there and doing those very same kinds of things?
I can come on and embarrass myself with the best of them.
All right. Well, I tell you what, Chris, thank you very much for your time. We do appreciate it, and I tell you what, I know that I love all the Otis gear that I've got. You guys make quality stuff. You make great stuff, and I endorse you to everybody that I can that listens to it or listens to me, which, all three of them really do like what I have to say about it. But, we do thank you, and I understand that it's a little late where you are, so I'm going to let you go ahead and go, and we'll wrap up the show. But I do hope to see you again. Thanks for coming on.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
All right, Reed, that was great.
All right. So, well, Chris has left us, so we'll go ahead and finish up the show. I tell you what, it's real nice to listen to someone tell you about everything you need to be doing to take care of the rifle.
Isn't that true?
Well, and you spend money on a rifle, you learn how to shoot a rifle, And the fact is if you don't know how to care for it, you're going to tear it up and you're going to cause it to lose its ability to function. And so it's important to know how to take care of a rifle, if you're going to invest that kind of time and energy to get one.
Yeah, no joke. I mean, we were talking about my lack of accuracy. Wonder how much of that is just fouling inside the rifle. I don't know. I guess I'll have to give it a good clean and then give you a report back sometime in the next week or two.
I wouldn't say it's that much.
Well, come on, Okay, it's probably not.
We may have to do a fundamentals of shooting show and use you as the guinea pig.
Yep, probably.
We'll get you out there running drills to get your shooting skills up, and we'll see how it works.
Yep, I need to.
Well, I tell you what. Why don't we get some feedback under our belts, and then we will go ahead and wrap up. But before we start, I wanted to let all of the listeners know that we want to tell you to go over and listen to Greg Bakken over at Tactical Paradise. Greg he's a heck of a guy, and he's got a great show over there. He's got a lot of really good information, and it covers a lot of the things that I have an interest in when it comes to the areas I have the least amount of knowledge, and I really kind of rely on the things that he has to say to inform my understanding of certain things. So, I mean, definitely go over there, listen to the Tactical Paradise podcast, and if you do go over there, drop them a line and tell them why you came over. Tell them that I was pimping them out like a cheap pimp. But I do want to let you know that he's got some great stuff, and I'm sure he'd love to have you. So, with that, why don't we get started with feedback?
Okay. We've got Benjamin who writes in, "Hi Reed, I was disappointed that you did not include the Wyndham weaponry ARs for the Champagne Roundup in episode 60, and we apologize for that, Ben. We did the best we could to include everything we could, of course." He goes on to say, "I purchased my Wyndham SCR for an MSRP. The MSRP on it was about $1,040 early last year, which was 2013. What sold me in the Wyndham weaponry ARs was the story behind the company Wyndham Weaponry. The Freedom Group, who purchased Bushmaster, decided to consolidate the manufacturing of the ARs and close the Bushmaster plant in Wyndham, Maine, effectively laying off everyone in the Wyndham plant. Wyndham Weaponry emerged from the closure of that plant when the original owner of Bushmaster reopened the plant and brought back their employees. The people of Wyndham, Maine refused to lay down when big corporation decided to knock them down. They have a full line of products that fit your selection criteria." So again, I apologize that I missed those going through. "I've seen nothing but good reviews on Wyndham ARs," he says, "and I believe that the people of Wyndham Weaponry deserve to be acknowledged as a quality AR manufacturer. P.S. I know that Wyndham Weaponry barrels have a 1 in 9 twist rate. Please don't hold that against them."
Well, I think you pointed out the difficulty, Anthony, when it comes to this. Yeah, you just can't cover everybody as much as we'd like to. Yep. And I think that I am more reluctant to throw somebody into the mix unless I have some personal connection, some, whether it's a first or second or third degree connection, unless I am able to put that knowledge into a context that I have confidence in. I would hate to tell everybody to go out and do something if I cannot back that recommendation up. So,
right.
I mean, obviously, we've heard of Wyndham. They are kind of one of the newer guys on the block, and so when push comes to shove, eventually I'm sure that I will put hands on one, or someone that I know, then someone that I trust will put hands on one, and I'll have that comfort level. Obviously, we've got Benjamin here that talks to us about, how great it is. If any of the other listeners want to come and let us know their experience with the Wyndham products, I'd be more than happy to kind of put y'all in the data bank here, and so we can start drawing on that experience to let other people know what you've been able to determine.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, leave us some feedback about our podcast and about Wyndham at the same time.
Yep. So, Benjamin, we'll keep our eyes open. We'll get some more information, and maybe we'll do an annual recap of that particular discussion. But for right now, I think 9 was a pretty large field.
It was.
And we'll just have to call that show done to the best of our abilities. But thanks again for writing in, Ben. So I'm going to go ahead and take this one.
Please do.
Alex writes, he says, Reed, I hope I'm not recycling an old question here. What is the difference between a semi-auto and a full-auto bolt carrier group? Is there some advantage as far as timing or recoil or mean time between fails, etc.? He says, please enter me in the Otis cleaning tool giveaway. Well, basically, Alex, here is the story. When the Colt Firearms Company released the first civilian-capable, the civilian acceptable ARs, the ATF had some very specific requirements, and if you have ever looked inside one of the old Colts, there was a weird contraption that was in the trigger well, kind of right above the safety. It was a what do they call it? A sear block. It was part of many alterations to the rifle to prevent it from being converted into a full auto. But you had a sear block, you had some modifications to the bolt, and I think there was one other change which I believe that was what has resulted in the two different pin sizes between the takedown pin and the pivot pin. There are two standards, and I think it was the ATF compliance requirements that caused that diversion there, where we diverted into the two different sized pins. But the modifications to the bolt carrier were designed so that the bolt carrier itself would never be able to actually operate in a platform that had a full auto system. And so what you will see is basically two cuts. On the bottom of the rear of the bolt, they've removed material so that essentially the bolt is not going to engage the toggles the way it's supposed to, or at least not in a fashion that will provide the appropriate timing. The toggle is basically what releases the disconnect and causes the next round to fire when the hammer drops. So you remove that material and it can't engage the toggle, you're never going to be able to shoot an AR that's been modified with a full auto fire control group. You're never going to be able to get it to work because that material's missing. So the other modification was basically in the well where the firing pin rests, there was material removed which will I'm sorry. I think it was from material added, which will basically modify your hammer's ability to go into the full auto mode. So, the removal of the material makes the bolt lighter, a lighter bolt, and some people's estimation affects the cyclic rate and proper function of the rifles. Trying to remember, if it's lighter, it's probably moving faster.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's moving faster, I think you have a higher propensity to bolt bounce, and you can have some timing issues. So, I guess that's a long-winded way of saying that's the difference, Alex. So it's just the removal of material on the back and the modification of some of the material on the front. So thanks for writing in, and we appreciate the question. Please do go to the show notes. We've got a wonderful graphic that kind of illustrates these differences here. So let's see. Joel writes in. Anthony, why don't you take Joel's question?
Joel writes in, and he says, "Good afternoon, Reed." I should be reading that one for sure. Good afternoon, Reed. I recently sold my 300 Blackout upper, which has left me with a problem. I now have a lower with no upper to go along with it. The only remedy I can think of is to build a new upper so my lower won't be lonely. Aw. It's almost Valentine's Day. You got to have something for your lower.
That's right.
That was bad. I'm going to go with a Rainier Arms Match 18-inch SPR barrel, Noveske MSR 15-inch handguard, and a Vortex Viper 1-4 optic. I have a couple of questions for you before I proceed with the build. Question number 1. I've heard online, from various people that a rifle-length gas system on a barrel shorter than 20 inches can cause some feeding problems for the rifle. Do you, Reed, have any experience with this? It doesn't seem likely to me that a company like Rainier would make a barrel like that if there were known issues with the system. You want to address that first?
Yeah, basically here's the thing. You've got the 3 gas system lengths that are traditional in a rifle. You've got your carbine, you've got your mid-length, and you've got your rifle length. The rifle length is what Stoner designed. The mid-length, I think, is a compromise arrived at by firearms engineers. And, of course, the carbine length is what they had to arrive at to come up with the M4. The M4's history, I think, goes back to Vietnam-era experimental models, and I think, what was it, the XM177? I'm not really sure what the designation was. But it was a very short-barreled rifle. I'm sure that you've seen it on somebody's movie from way back in the day. In any case, here's my take. I've never had a feeding problem. I've never had a rifle that has not performed exactly the way I wanted it to. Now, what you have are some, components that operate within a set of parameters. You can build a rifle with a carbine-length gas system that will not work because some component of the rifle has it out of balance. You can have, the buffer springs of a particular type. You can have buffers that are, heavy and light. You can have bolts that are heavy and light, just like we've talked with the above question. And so if any combination of these get your timing out of whack, you're going to have issues. So the issue is not, will anything less than a 20-inch barrel cause a problem? The issue is, as the system is designed, has attention been paid to tuning all of the components for that particular choice? And you're right, Rainier is not going to sell something that isn't going to work. So what you need to be able to do is have faith in the company that assembled it, have faith in the company that put that particular upper together, and if you do, you are going to have, presumably if it's a good company, an upper that will work. So the real component that is at issue here is going to be taken care of by the manufacturer.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that you're going to have a problem there. What's the next question here?
He goes on to ask, originally I was just going to go with a Rainier Arms upper receiver that comes without a forward assist. But while browsing Brownells, I saw a stripped receiver made by WMD, which is a receiver that is nickel boron on the inside. In theory, this interior finish coupled with a nickel boron bolt carrier would make for a very smooth shooting gun, in my opinion, in his opinion. I've just never heard of WMD, and I don't know what the quality and reliability of this company's products is like, so I figured I'd throw it out to you and see if you could help me. Thanks for your help and for putting on a great show.
Well, I know that Lone Wolf Distributors uses WMD.
Great.
And
That's good.
I haven't heard anything bad about them. I think the only thing that I would ask myself, the nickel boron, the nickel Teflon, all of the I guess treatments for those metal components, I typically see them on steel, and I typically see the explanation of those coatings at a molecular level in terms of how they interact with steel. So that's why you see them on slides, because they're stainless steel slides, why you see them on barrels, why you see them on bolt carrier groups. The question is, well, what would they do with aluminum? And I really don't know. I mean, the presumption is that if WMD is selling something with a nickel boron coating, then obviously it must adhere to aluminum. It must not be incompatible. The nickel boron provides a particular lubricity and ease of maintenance and cleaning with the bolt carrier groups and barrels. So certainly that is something that you would expect if the coating can be applied to the inside of an upper receiver. I'm not seeing any warning signs or red flags in my analysis that would say to stay away from it. Obviously, I don't know enough about the treatment. I don't know enough about what it is they've got going on. So, certainly, Joel, if you decide that this is the route you're going to take, WMD has a good reputation, so I would go ahead and follow through with it. But do write back and let us know what your impressions are if you get that nickel boron coated upper receiver.
Yeah, it looks interesting. I was just looking at their website. Apparently, you can send in your existing weapons and have them treated with a nickel boron treatment as well. So and they include aluminum and steel framed automatic pistols, revolvers, rifles, shotguns, not just interior parts but exterior parts as well. It's kind of interesting.
All right. So I guess that is it for Joel, and that's it for our feedback. And ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who aren't aware, our roving other sacrificial co-host, JW, is feeding us copious quantities of helpful tidbits and hints. So if I look distracted, it's because the screen is blossoming with typewritten messages to me from JW.
And wonderful pictures and all kinds of other great, lovely things. He's doing an excellent job in the show notes.
So do visit the show notes. JW has put a couple of links and some notes and some things that will just really kind of expand on the discussions that we've had. But certainly, we always encourage you to go to the show notes because there is usually a more thorough expression of everything that we have talked about. So with that, I think that we're going to go ahead and call this a show, Anthony. And
sure.
Why don't you lead us out with the outro here?
Yes, sir. So as always, send any questions or comments to feedback@ar15podcast.com. That's feedback@ar15podcast.com. Send us a recorded voicemail by using the SpeakPipe plugin on the right-hand side of the ar15podcast.com website. Follow FRN on Facebook at facebook.com/firearmsradio. Follow Google Plus to watch us live, like you're doing right now, hopefully, at www.firearmsradio.tv/plus. Don't forget to check out the podcast on the Firearms Radio Network. Subscribe and listen to the podcasts for free at firearmsradio.tv/iTunes, or search for us in your iTunes app. And be sure to leave an iTunes review. That's very important for us, so iTunes know to place our show higher in listener searches. It helps us reach more people. Don't forget to use our Brownells affiliate link as well for all your AR-15 parts and needs at www.ar15podcast.com/AR15parts.
All right, well, that's a great show. I see that we have 3 viewers.
Oh, really?
Yep. Now, does that mean that's you, me, and JW?
I don't know.
What? We'll have to look into that.
Yeah, we will.
Well, everybody, thank you for another show. I think next week we will see about having all three of our hosts on, and maybe we'll have a little discussion in the round about something AR. In any case, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Good night.
This has been a production of the Firearms Radio Network. You can find more information at firearmsradio.tv.